In today's world, we are increasingly dependent on technology. Our business and personal lives rely on it, but as you've probably noticed, it's unreliable. Our computers are slow, so we end up squinting at smartphones and tablets. The jokers we pay to fix our stuff have no clue what they're doing. We live in constant fear that something's going to happen to our personal data. So we're scared into paying for fake protection that proves useless when disaster strikes. Update attacks, fake Wi-Fi, cloud control, intelligent, successful people feel intimidated by the chaos and think it's somehow their fault. If they only knew what the industry was doing to them, they'd get torches and pitchforks. If only we had someone to explain it all in plain English so we can start protecting ourselves. Oh wait, we do! It's the Computer Exorcist Podcast with your host, Mark Anthony Arena.
From the Wallace Memorial microphone in my living room overlooking the hills of Western New York, this is the Computer Exorcist Podcast. My name is Mark Anthony Arena. Glad you have joined us today. So we're going to do something really interesting today. We're going to do an interview, my usual segment of interviews with fascinating people. And today we have Captain Speedy Dash, who is a gamer on YouTube. And he's going to tell us about YouTube gaming, and we're going to discuss the DRM scandal and how extremely futile it is. So, Captain Speedy Dash, tell us about you and what is YouTube gaming and how did you get into it?
Yeah, I just always liked playing games, moved from console to PC, and on PC, it's pretty easy just to start live streaming. First, I started on Twitch, but then I thought, just why not cut out the middleman of live stream on Twitch and post it on YouTube and just live stream on YouTube, and then it's just already on YouTube.
That's funny because I always try to promote the underdogs, right? But that's how the big guys get big is, oh, hey, we're already big, so forget about them and just come directly to us. And so you were playing games by yourself, and you figured, hey, let's show other people. And I get it. I mean, back in my day, we would go to each other's houses and watch our friends play games. But now people are in their own houses watching you, right?
Yeah, though I'm still pretty small on YouTube. I have 142, I think, at the moment of subscribers. I'm just hoping that I somehow get one of those mega viral clips to spawn and be able to actually start making enough money to support myself that way, since working for a living is not ideal.
And I can always teach you to do what I do for a living. I help seniors with their technology, and I rip out Norton and McAfee and rip out anything that's holding them back, and I always save them a lot of money. I never wanted to do corporate. I was never good at corporate, but I found something it helps a lot of people, and it's fun to do.
My gaming channel is actually more my secondary YouTube channel. I do have a primary one that is more likely to actually be able to start making money and supporting myself, just writing scripts and you could essentially say puppet shows with little PNGs that have transparent backgrounds. But
neat.
That's a bit different from the gaming stuff.
Yeah, it's too different. Yeah, and it amazes me. Again, back in my day, we had 30 TV channels, and you had to go to a TV studio, and then you did a show, and then you were famous, and that was that. But now anyone can do their own show with what we call user-generated content. It's amazing how YouTube has given people the ability to do a show, and then if you're good enough or exciting enough, or if enough people just happen to notice you, that's when you really take off. What kind of video games do you play?
I mainly just play anything I find interesting. If I'm not having enough fun with it, I drop it from the live stream lineup and just move on to a different game.
Really? Because I know
at the
some
current
people
time,
just do certain games, or they'll just do one game. So people are watching you because of you, regardless of the game.
That's what I'm hoping for, but at times it's ebb and flow.
That's
At the
interesting.
current time, I'm live streaming myself doing Saints Row 2 as well as a older game, Dragon Ball Z Dragon Ball Z Boo's Fury.
Really?
I'm also going to start a live stream on Tuesday for the remake of the first Dragon Quest game.
Oh, really? So, and it was called Dragon Warrior in the US, and it was Dragon Quest in Japan, correct?
Actually, I haven't looked that much of the history. I have played one or two over the years, just a little bit. This will be, if I go through with it, the first time I've actually completed a Dragon Quest game.
Oh, cool. I played the original Dragon Warrior 1 on NES a couple years ago, and my buddy Jimmy is playing that remake right now that you're talking about, and he enjoyed
Eh,
it. That's really cool. That's totally different from the usual modern shooting games. It's totally. So, do you want to do an article here?
All right.
This is if you remember, we had Atari, of course, was the big name, and then we also had ColecoVision, and then we had Intellivision when I was really little. And what happened was a couple years ago, there are a lot of these retro consoles that are coming back, which is awesome, right? They're replica consoles, and I have an Atari replica console, and it's amazing to show my nephews the games that started it all. So a lot of these brands have been resurrected by new people, and they're trying to make newer consoles, right? And what happened here was in the past year or so Intellivision, the resurrected brand, said, let's make the Amico, which is a totally brand new console, and that's admirable and that's awesome. But I guess what they did was they sold themselves to Atari. So now Atari owns Intellivision, and Amico has been spun off. All right, so Amico is a brand new console, and they say it's inspired by Intellivision. Okay. And it looks kind of like a Nintendo Wii, and the goal is it comes with controllers that are similar to the original Intellivision, where there's a rotating wheel on it, and this new one has a screen on it. And they claim it is designed for simplicity, and of course I love that sentiment. But and it says simple, intuitive design, but why are you gonna have a controller with a screen on it? That's pretty difficult to fix, and it's not really that simple. The cool, and they do say sports and recreation, educational and brain games, party games, retro classics. So that is very much in the spirit of Nintendo Wii. So it was really also inspired by that, and that's awesome, and I applaud them for it. And the other thing I applaud them for is it says no bad language, no graphics and violence and blood, no sexual content. Every game is rated for kids. All right, that's cool. And so again, it's not as simple as they put it, but that's fine. They claim it's affordable, but it's $250. I haven't heard. I mean, this console's been out for a couple years now, and I haven't heard a lot about it. I haven't seen it in my local retro video game shop or anything. So I'm guessing they probably are going to price themselves out of the market, so to speak. What do you think of this, Grand Captain Speedy Dash? Do you have any thoughts?
If it's supposed to be I think consoles should be the medium to low grade to try and get people into it. I don't think they should aim for the highest of ends, because that's just pricing the people out of getting into gaming. I think that's what the consoles should be for, of just the gateway to get into gaming, as computers is a bit more complicated and you have to know the specs and such. But consoles should be the simple, easy, and cheaper, just get into gaming.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it should be affordable, especially at the level where it's just kids gaming. It should be affordable, and it should be simple to use. And like they said, we strive for simplicity in everything we create, yada yada. That's cool. And all games will be between $5 and $10. That's pretty cool as well. And mobile devices can be converted into Amico controllers. That's cool. Couch co-op style gameplay. Turn on family game night, library original titles. Again, so I applaud them. But you're totally right there. And
Couch co-op is one thing that we can use a lot more of, fallen very by the wayside.
So what's that, where you're sitting next to each other on the same console?
Yeah, where you're just all connected to the same computer or console and playing the screen split up in various different ways you can do it. On PC, some games actually allow you to split up the screens so you can actually have it on two different monitors.
Nice. Same computer, two monitors.
Companies, most of them are going against that because that means they don't have to sell each person who wants to play it together a copy.
Yeah, I remember with Game Boys, when my brothers and I had Game Boy when we were little, and we each had to have a copy of the same game in order to play it together, yeah. So, yeah, co-op mode is pretty cool, where, like, you're both fighting against the computer or whatever it might be.
Yep.
And what I was going to say about pricing was, you're right that consoles should be cheaper. When you become an advanced gamer, such as yourself, then you get to the current iteration of Xbox and PlayStation, which are really expensive and really similar to computers and really advanced. And those are, what, $500 now for those new ones?
I believe they are much more than that. I think Sony recently put the PlayStation 5 the base PlayStation 5 at $700.
So you know what? $250 actually is affordable then, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Though that $250 might not actually be accurate anymore considering the RAM crisis right now.
Oh, right. Now that these computer component prices are going wild, now that's a really good point. That's going to bite into their profit, or they'll have to raise the prices. Yeah. Okay, so I want to give the audience a sneak peek into my forthcoming book, and I'm going to read a couple excerpts from it about the DRM scandal to explain to them what's happening. In a nutshell, when in the early 2000s, when online music sales started, they said, well, people started pirating music, we can't have that, so we're going to come up with a technology, an anti-piracy technology. Okay, fine. We want to reward the creators of the content. Fine. The problem is, what the DRM scandal ended up doing was, if you bought a song online for $1 and you press play, your computer has to call home to beg for permission from a DRM computer before you're allowed to enjoy the song that you purchased. Meanwhile, pirates can still pirate music, and they don't have those tethers. They don't have those restrictions. So they pay $0, and they have an untethered song that they can do whatever they want with. So here you are trying to do the right thing and purchase the song or the video game or the movie or the whatever online, and you are the one being punished. Meanwhile, the pirate gets away with it. Does that make sense?
No. And in truth, music piracy has mostly been defeated. And actually start with the quote. Gabe Newell, the one who owns Valve and created Steam, the primary platform on PC, has said, piracy isn't a pricing problem, it's a service problem. Yeah. And
where in
the
other
music
words,
industry,
it's not about the money, it's that you want to be able to play the games without restrictions. Is that correct?
The music industry has mostly defeated piracy with like Spotify, where just about any song that you want is available on that service.
Correct, and I do mention that in the book. You're absolutely right. Where the industry, so they tried to do DRM with music purchases. It ended up punishing a lot of people. So then they came along with what I call the all-you-can-eat, all-you-can-stream model. And that's what Spotify and, heaven forbid, Apple Music and Pandora and all those, and SiriusXM, where it's like, fine, you listen whatever you want, and you just, as long as you keep paying, you can keep listening to whatever you want. So that is a sustainable compromise, absolutely. But there are some songs that I actually want to keep in my own library, and even if the world blows up, and even if the DRM servers are gone, I still want that music. So I try to purchase it from sources that don't have DRM, so I can actually have that song forever, and I'm still trying to do the right thing and support the author. And one thing I say in the book,
I do attempt to do the same as well.
awesome, absolutely. It's crazy how DRM is the absolute opposite of justice. That's how I put it in the book. And so you and I want to do the right thing. And one thing I say here in the book, and I'm going to give you a little excerpt right now, is so they allowed online sales of digital media. Okay, great. Now the people who wanted to be able to download things legally could do so. You got your music instantly, and some of the money might make it to the artist. All set, right? Problem was, they leased each song with a copy protection called DRM. It's a desperate attempt to keep all the media in the world contained. When you buy a song with DRM, it's encrypted. You have to ask permission to press play. All right, I'll give you an example of DRM that I use in the book with video games. In the old days, if you bought a video game cartridge or vinyl record or CD or DVD, you could enjoy it and resell it to someone else. A 2009 lawsuit upheld your right to resell those cartridges because those cartridges are owned. Well, the industry said, we can't have that now, can we? So in 2013, Microsoft attacked humanity with a decree that kids could no longer lend each other their Xbox games. Competitor Sony responded with what could be the greatest snub ever. It was a video titled Official PlayStation Used Game Instructional Video. And there was a Japanese PlayStation executive and an American PlayStation executive, and the one guy handed the other guy a cartridge, and they said, that's it, we're done. And they put Microsoft to shame with their DRM greed. What were you going to say?
Yeah, it was one of the worst PR moves for Microsoft and one of the best PR moves for PlayStation.
Oh, absolutely. It was incredible.
Microsoft, I don't think, has really recovered from it yet.
Good.
Or at least in the gaming. I mean, Xbox.
And they're so excellent at just putting eggs on their own faces. They're so excellent at it, to be honest. I mean, they are their own worst enemy. No one has ever done anything to them. They are just so excellent at embarrassing themselves in every possible way in everything they do. So a lady named Amanda Caudell ended up suing Amazon because she bought some movies and music on Amazon and found out they were controlled by DRM. And she found out that it said it's $5.99 to rent a movie, and it's $14 to buy a movie, but it's not actually buying, it's renting. Either way, you're renting, because you press play and it begs for permission to watch it, right?
Yeah.
So her argument was that Amazon still controls it, and they even admitted it. They're like, yeah, you don't own this at all. So she's saying it's not buying or renting because you don't own it. And what a lot of computer guys ended up saying is, hey, you know what? Well, if it's not ownership, then it's not piracy either. In other words, you keep this up and we'll just have to keep pirating it.
If buying isn't owning, piracy isn't stealing.
Correct. That's the way to put it. Exactly. That's what it was. So, it's one thing, like I said, if DRM actually stopped piracy, but it does not do that. Pirates can still get away with whatever they want. It's much easier, like you were saying, it's a service problem. It's infinitely easier to pirate a show now than it is to sign up for something, download it, battle with the DRM, and so on. And
on one of the 17 different streaming services.
Right. Besides, and I tried to watch that new Picard show from Paramount, and the website was so bloated, it just wouldn't work on my incredibly modern living room computer. It just didn't feel like it. So
I have to mention about how I actually have Paramount on my computer. It won't track anytime I watch it. It won't track my progression.
So
it's been that way for months.
Well, and it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, I don't have a good service.
Wow, and that's the thing, and that's a whole other concept I talk about in the book. It's called closed source software, and I explain that to consumers is, hey, look, you're not allowed to repair any of this stuff. It's completely sealed off, and some joker at that company is never going to repair it. It'll just stay like that, and because they have no quality control and they don't bother testing their stuff. So one guy actually got a job at that company just to fix some problem that had been bothering him, and then he walked out the next day. So
I'm not that dedicated to any of those services.
but it illustrates the fact that you're not allowed to improve these products at all. You have to work for that company in order to do anything about it, and they aren't going to
And
do it.
sure, that's the reason that Linux actually came about, because of closed software. It started as Unix is a closed source.
Yeah, so, and I talk about this in the book as well. Linus Torvalds wanted Unix on his local computer, but didn't want to pay the $10,000 price tag that it was at the time. So he created his own that acted like it, but it was completely his. And then he decided to open that source code or show people the blueprints.
I was meaning the GNU, not Unix. Yeah,
But yeah, GNU is not Unix. GNU. That's really cool. So
we were on the closed source.
So one solution I talk about in the book is donationware, right? Where you go to a website for a musician or a video game author or whatever, and you give a donation and you download the thing. It's free of DRM. You're supporting them, right? You're going to that person's website to support them anyways, right? So you pay for it, they give it to you free of DRM, and it's yours forever. It's the perfect solution, right? And again, if someone's going to pirate it, they're going to go out of their way and pirate it anyways. So why not drop the DRM, make it easier to do the right thing, right? My buddy Ian used to say, make the path of least resistance, or people follow the path of least resistance. So make it easier for people to do the right thing. And that's the same thing here.
Make it so instead of going to pirate site, they come right to you, since you made it so that's the easiest way to get the software. No extra hurdles.
Make it easy to do the right thing. And I'll tell you, I live in New York State, and it's infinitely easier to be a drug dealer or a criminal than it is to be a small business owner. So I don't even know what I'm doing here. But yeah, make it easier to do the right thing. I'm gonna write that down. So, and I'll tell you something funny here is that with Microsoft Office, right? That's their bread and butter. That's how they make all that money, and it's probably 50% of their revenue. They went from a purchase model where you bought Microsoft Office for $150 and it was yours forever, and now they've turned to the 365 rental scandal where it's $79 or $99 a year for the rest of your life. And no consumer is questioning this. It's just, well, that's just what I have to do now. And they don't realize.
I mean, they aren't even the worst one. There's Adobe as well.
Adobe's a filthy, rotten example as well. Absolutely. And most of the people who are paying Adobe aren't even aware that they're paying for it. I had a guy the other day, and he goes, I don't know, I just clicked on this thing, and I realized I've been paying for Adobe on my credit card, and I don't even know why. And he just wanted to use his computer as a consumer. He wasn't any kind of graphic designer or whatever. And I looked and found out that he's been paying Adobe $21 a month for the past year. Yeah, good point. So if something is... So in the book, I say this. I've watched enough Frasier episodes to know that you can only keep something under wraps for so long before it falls apart. The web of tentacles required to keep it contained will eventually collapse. If something is built on fakery, it won't hold water. Microsoft's revenue model depends on that house of cards we call DRM, and someone just figured out how to crack it. There's something called the mass grave tool, where it just breaks the DRM, so you can just have Microsoft Office now. And it's actually infinitely easier. I mean, sometimes it takes an hour or two just to battle against Microsoft to purchase their garbage software if you want to do the purchase or the rental. But if you do Massgrave, it's like 2 minutes. It's incredible. So I think what I should do is do the Massgrave and then mail them a little donation check.
I would still just stick with LibreOffice.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And that's what I tell people is, look, there are only 7 Wall Street people or whatever who need Microsoft Office. Everyone else on the planet can get away with LibreOffice for free. You are totally right.
Yeah.
So
the funny thing is, when I switched to Linux last year, I was actually surprised when I had moved most of the programs I use, I moved to already open source alternatives. So when I switched to Linux, just about all of them were already available.
Right, Firefox, LibreOffice, Brave, right? Most of the stuff is already available. That's awesome. And a lot of my clients aren't doing PC games, so they're not even going to run into issues where a lot of PC games require Microsoft Windows and all that. So they're not even using products that require Windows.
Thanks to Valve and Steam, that's not much of an issue anymore. They've taken many strides with their Proton, as well as helping Wine improve. Most games run flawlessly out of the box.
Yeah, and I remember when that came out in 2005, and the guy who what's his name, Gabe Newell, like you were saying, he actually was an employee of Ubuntu, if I'm not mistaken, and he wanted to make gaming work on Linux. Yeah. So, all right, tell me about your example.
When he first tried, it wasn't very successful with the first Steam machine, but he's made great strides until releasing the Steam Deck, and now soon a new version of the Steam machine.
Mm-hmm. And absolutely, it's and he saw this decades before anyone else did. He again, he makes things easy for people, right? And it's just like Amazon. They became successful because they make things easy for people.
Yeah, it's a joke in the community of Gabe Newell does nothing and wins because nothing was the right action.
Oh, I love that. Wow. And that goes to my Chinese finger trap theory that I always tell people, and my next book is going to be about that, right? Where if you try too hard, like Microsoft is always trying to play whack-a-mole and screw over as many people as they can, and Xerox tries to sue as many people as they can, and that's how they make money. And this guy just relaxed. Oh, I love that. He did nothing, and that was the right thing to do. Wow, I got to write that down. So tell us about your example that you came on to talk about DRM and what it's doing right now with games.
Right now Lenovo is getting beaten by the hypervisor.
All right, so
bypass.
Explain to the audience what is a de novo and what is a hypervisor.
So, well, de novo is basically DRM for DRM.
Ooh.
It checks to make sure the DRM hasn't been tampered with, as well as checking to make sure it hasn't been tampered with. If there are numerous checks that makes games load a bit slower, as well as having a little more overhead.
Because like we were saying, they have to keep everything contained, right? They have to plug up all the holes and whack-a-mole, and it's a futile scrambling.
And the worst part is, it also has periodic online checks. So I believe the default is about 2 weeks. So and it only checks when it needs to verify, which is both a good and a bad of. You play it for 13 days, and then you lose internet, and you try to play it on the 14th day. It's not able to connect to the internet, so it blocks you from playing it.
So it depends, right, on some external thing to give it life.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where with Steam, you can have Steam in offline mode for months. My longest record is having it in offline for 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
And all the games that I've had downloaded, they worked just fine.
And again, I still have a problem with any form of DRM. I still don't like that it still has to check at all, but I see what you're saying. Yeah. So this new de novo thing, it requires you to be on the internet, and it requires permission on top of permission on top of permission just to do anything, right? So
and then the hypervisor bypass, it's a little bit of a security risk, but as long as you're getting it from a source that you trust, it should be fine. But I'm not gonna argue about that part. I'm just gonna it goes to a layer far below where de novo operates and intercepts the check and then just spits it back as successful.
Wow. So it bypasses all the stupidity. It's and I say this in the book where it's a house of cards on top of a house of cards on top of a house of cards, right? So this comes right in and just bypasses all of it because it's much easier to do that. Wow.
Yeah, it catches it into a Faraday cage, which just bounces the signals right back as successful.
Oh, that's so cool. And I've done that with the Adobe Update Attacker engine, where it just keeps dumping update attacks. So I created something called a symbolic link, so it just sends the update attacks into nowhere, into a black hole. It's so cool. Wow. So yet another example, right, where this DRM comes in, makes it more difficult for the user, right? So it slows you down when you're trying to launch the game, right?
I was just saying, just a little. The good developers are able to minimize its impact, but all you can do is minimize the impact. There will still be an impact.
And again, right, so it's still there, and again, it can never prevent piracy. That's the thing. It's one thing if it actually prevented, but it can never do that.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of justice. Wow. Grand Captain Speedy Dash, any last comments before we finish the show?
Just a little further on that worrying thing is hypervisor operates at a very low level in Windows. It's just about the lowest level that you can go. The worrying thing is that if de novo plans to implement countermeasures by going to that level.
Oh, right, because they're going to try to do
pushing the problem onto the consumer. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which pushes the current, what people say are the problems with the pirate version, onto every legit version with de novo.
So they're going to...
Of it being a very large security risk. Meaning...
Just like in third grade, where one bad kid does something and the teacher punishes the whole class, right?
Well, where it makes it so... like any game with de novo... If someone's able to hack that, they actually have been able to fully hack into your system.
Oh, wow. Okay, so here's what happens. So de novo does this thing where they put their DRM deep in the basement of Windows, so to speak, and then pirates fight against that and they break through that. So then de novo ends up opening up a huge security hole in good people's computers. Is that right?
Yeah. Something along the lines, yeah.
What? So again, and the other thing I say in the book is that when Godzilla and Mothra fight each other, they end up stepping on normal citizens like us.
Yeah.
Grand Captain Speedy Dash, how can people find you on YouTube?
Grand Captain Speedy Dash Games on YouTube. And my primary channel, the one with the Dragon Ball Z What If, is Grand Captain Speedy Dash What If.
Easy enough. I'll have to tune in and watch you sometime. And thanks so much for being on the show and for explaining these concepts to us.
No problem.
All right. You can find me at thecomputerexorcist.com. And my book is coming out this year called Don't Be Taken by Silicon Valley. So if you liked what you heard, you can buy a copy of that book pretty soon. Talk to you next week.